Pat yourself on the back because you are right here, right now, for a reason. Welcome to the On Purpose podcast, where together we will empower ourselves and others to live lives with more passion and purpose. How you doing this morning, Jared?
Man, I think I kind of right now wake up every morning and not sure how I'm doing. I kind of have to check in and see what changed overnight, what kind of rules are on us. Obviously, we're not together, so we're respecting social distancing requests. I think I feel pretty good. You?
I'm feeling good, man. I'm feeling good. I'm really grateful to not have, at least yet, knock on wood, fingers crossed, a direct impact to my business. So that's always nice. I do miss seeing everyone's smiling faces and interacting with people at trials and Toastmasters and kind of my normal things. I definitely do miss that. But I'm excited to see how the world looks once we get through all of this. I think that this is, I posted on Facebook actually, it's like the world is telling us to go to our rooms and have a timeout to think about what we've done, you know?
Yeah, for us, we have a little more apprehension because literally all of our businesses have been shut down right now because every business we have is a face-to-face business. So that's a little concerning because never in my wildest dreams I think the government could just come in and shut businesses down like that. But yeah, we're here now, and I agree with you. There's something that's supposed to come out of this, and I'm kind of excited to see what it is once we get through it as well.
Yeah.
But I do have to share with you, man, not only am I drinking coffee from our On Purpose mugs,
Damn,
which might be available for likes, shares, comments, tagging your friends, helping us grow. We might send you one of these. But I also have a live studio audience as I get to record from home. So I kind of feel big time.
There you go. It's hard to beat a live studio audience. And those mugs are brand spanking new. I don't even have one of those yet. I got my You're awesome. Keep that shit up mug.
It's because we're not allowed to hang out, so I can't deliver goodies to you right now.
I know. It's all right. We'll be getting through this.
Well, we're going to come out on the backside stronger, and that's what I truly believe for people is if you take this time to really develop yourself and use it for good, you're going to come out better. Fight the urge to sit around and watch Netflix all day and do comfortable stuff, do some tough stuff. So our kids are homeschooled now. We're doing online schooling, so I hired the most toughest PE teacher ever yesterday, David Goggins, because he was doing Facebook Live workouts, so we did one with him.
Damn,
so I'm
considering
awesome. Him the PE teacher.
How was it?
It was fun. Yeah, nice. It was fun. Trey complained. Our legs are sore today. There was a lot of lunges and squats, all body weight.
Nice. Goggins, love that guy. I'm actually listening to his book on audio right now. You Can't Hurt Me. Almost finished. Yeah. Pretty good.
Yeah, I read that. It's intense, man. But think about that for a second. What if something like this would have happened even 30 years ago when we didn't have near the internet infrastructure we do now, Zoom conference calls, how isolated people would have felt.
Right.
Versus now I can literally bring in one of the baddest dudes on the world live and go outside in the sunshine and do a workout with my family with them. So
cool.
While there is uncertainty and definitely there's going to be a price to pay for a lot of what's going on, there's also a lot of benefits to it.
Big time, man. So my lady Courtney, she's having and my little brother Amir, they're both having dinner and happy hour with their friends over Zoom, like a virtual dinner and happy hour. And I was like, whoa, that's a fantastic idea. And I don't know, I have family in Lebanon that I try and video call once a month. I'm like, why haven't I ever thought of that? Of like, hey,
right.
let's have a meal together. We can do that now with video conferencing, FaceTime, Zoom, Google Hangouts, whatever it is, to where this is available to us.
Right.
So I think this is going to be a cool time. Of course, yeah, stressful, and there's a lot of negativity around it too, but there's a lot of positives that we can pull from this quarantine extravaganza.
Yeah, it's funny. We actually Zoom called our family the other night and just sat and caught up with everybody. And yeah, we were kind of like, why don't we do this more often? Like, why do we have to wait until it's grandpa's birthday to see everybody? Like, we literally could do this anytime we wanted.
That's what I'm saying, man. Sometimes it just takes getting humbled to
Ooh,
understand,
ooh,
you
yeah, I
know?
agree. I
Uh,
think that's the big lesson out of this is for me is just humbling.
yeah. So before we talk more on getting humbled in these humbling times, let's reminisce on our purposeful practice review for the last time we had an in-person guest. Now it feels like
Oh
a
my
while
gosh.
ago, but
Yeah.
Mr. Zach Mercurio, PhD, father, author, and true student of purpose. His work is all about finding authentic purpose in the workplace, in the personal life, really throughout your entire life. What did you get out of our purposeful practice review for Zach, Jared?
What I took away, I actually wrote about it in my my Friday Focus blog after interviewing him was just the realization that we can't not matter.
Oh yeah, that
You
was
know, when he said that, I was just thinking about it. I was like, how many people actually don't believe they matter? And we can't not matter. Like we couldn't be here if we didn't matter.
dude.
Like we
So
have to
many,
matter to someone somewhere.
of course.
But it's easy to lose, especially like in a time like this where people are going to lose jobs. Some people are going to die from this stuff. It's easy to feel despair and distance, but we all matter somewhere. And so that quote, "You can't not matter," really stuck with me.
I
How about
love
you?
it. I love it. That's a great one, man. That one stuck with me as well. And one of the concepts that really stuck with me from Zach McCurry's presentation was the new neuron study, to where he said our brains literally develop a brand new neuron just to recognize a new face. So what I took from that was that it's meant we're meant to meet people. We are meant to connect. And I've said this before, but there's a reason why the absolute worst punishment we can put on a
That's
human
true.
being is what is it? Solitary confinement.
Solitary
Solitary confinement,
confinement.
to where you can't see, touch any. You absolutely by yourself. That's the worst punishment because we're meant to connect. We're meant
Yeah,
to see new faces. We're meant. That's why this quarantine is so hard for people. Even for the people that complain about their work and blah blah. That really fills up our happiness meter of people. You know, we need each other, and there's no better time right now to really, even if it has to be through Zoom, to really come together. And that new neuron study really went home with me and just solidified that belief system of mine of like, hey, people and relationships are the most important thing in life.
yeah. It's just crazy that that was our last episode. It seems like so much has happened between now and then.
Yeah, a lot has.
I mean, his last week has been so long, just with the unknown and constantly changing. But yeah, I think we're in humbling times for sure, man. And I think you're absolutely right. We took for granted all the interactions we had, all the freedoms we had, just the ability to see people all day, every day if we wanted. And now that you're like locked in your own little world, it's you realize you miss it.
Yeah, yeah, definitely some humbling times. And you know what's funny too? I was thinking about it because Courtney, she does work in Africa in refugee camps where these
Right.
people literally have nothing. I mean, they fill up buckets of water. Even she'd have to use the buckets of water and go. There's no shower or nothing like that. Uh, they have nothing, and it's funny how even in these humbling times, we still have so much. I mean, we
Yes.
still have the ability. They don't have, so many people don't even have a computer, internet. A lot of them have cell phones, but high quality Zoom, warm AC, heat, running water, grocery
Right.
stores still open. Like we still have so much, but it is a complete 180 from what we normally have. Humbling
Yeah.
times.
Yeah, and I think it's I think it also helps you address what you want versus what you need. And I think we're very spoiled, and a lot of us think that what we want is what we need. And like, it's
Hmm.
for the first time in my lifetime going to the grocery store and the dude telling me you're only allowed so much meat and you're only allowed so many things of bread. How many times do we take for granted, like, we could buy the last of everything because some dude was
Dang.
going to come out with a box and refill it and you'd get what you wanted.
Where are they doing that? King Supers?
Yeah, well, yeah, I think I don't know where else, but yeah, I went to King Supers and you're only allowed like 2 pounds of ground beef and like
Oh
three bread products.
shit! Dang, that's
Well,
wild.
if yeah, I got teenagers. I'm like 2 pounds. That feeds one teenager,
Yeah.
but it's good. But again, what I want isn't necessarily what I need. Okay, 2 pounds is all I get. You know what, Trey? You don't get 44 tacos. Like, you're gonna have to, we have to throw some beans in there or something. But I truly believe we're gonna come out better for sure.
I believe so too.
And if you take the time to delve into it,
Hmm.
um, like for me, man, I have more time to do my Spanish lessons. I got to get working on that second book. We get you and I, connect and say, okay, how do we build the podcast bigger when we come out of this? There's a lot of time that if you just don't sit around and waste, um, you we're humble now, but from humble beginnings come greatness. You know what I mean? And maybe this is what we needed.
I couldn't agree more, man. I couldn't agree more. I'm reading the autobiography of Mahatma Gandhi right now, and it's really having me reflect these last few chapters because he's late 1800s to early 1900s, and even the way he writes his language, and I was just thinking of how us as human beings, how we used to have such low energy thinking. Like in those times, he dealt with racial prejudice, and that
Mhm.
they used to call them Indian people, I guess in England, coolies was like the racial slurs, like get this fucking coolie off the train, but whatever. And I was thinking of how like a lot of this racial oppression over the years, and finally we're in a place. Yes, of course, racism still exists, whatever, but we're in a place to where that we're finally moving past that. It's not in our it's not in laws to where we used to have black bathrooms, white
Yeah.
bathrooms, but we increased our frequency and stuff, our thinking through a lot of this oppression, through a lot of this hardship, through a lot of this hard time where the entire world experienced it. And I'm feeling like this humbling times is for sure 100% serving a purpose for us to take it to that next level of getting humbled and realizing, hey, everything that we have taken for granted in some way. And I think this is going to bring a lot more appreciation.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope people come out of this and realize, like, yeah, what have we taken for granted? What have we not appreciated? And more importantly, man, like, all this stuff can be taken away at any time.
Yeah, that's
Like,
humbling to think about. It's like we don't
y-
really control shit.
no, Andrea and I have been on this journey for a while of kind of simplifying our lives and getting rid of a lot of stuff because there's that quote in Fight Club, uh, where the things you own actually own you. Something like that. Brad Pitt's character says it, but basically, you
Hmm.
start thinking about, like, we buy these big houses, we buy these fancy cars, we buy all this stuff, and then we spend most of our life earning money to pay back the stuff we bought. So
Hmm.
really, and so I, like, for me, I kind of like opening a refrigerator and not seeing it packed full, because now we have to use stuff. Like, how many Americans go to the store and buy like fresh vegetables and fruit that isn't available around the world, and then we don't even eat it in time and it spoils. We just throw it away without a thought.
I'll tell you, bro. Average household, $1,800 a year of groceries
Yeah.
get thrown in the trash in
What's
America.
18? What about so? What if I took that $1,800 and I invested it?
Yeah, that's
Right?
a nice chunk
Like,
of
what would that
change.
compound to over my lifetime instead of throwing it in the trash? So I think, like, for me, I'm really trying to focus on, like, okay, we don't need all the stuff we always thought we needed. This We want it, but we don't need it.
Yeah.
What I truly need is people. Right? I need people around me. I need um, the communities we've built. Like, it helps. I think it helps us prioritize what's truly important. Now all of a sudden we make time to Zoom call a family on Sunday nights instead of just waiting to see them once a year at Christmas or at special occasions because we need that interaction. Because what if they're not here tomorrow? You know, I think this could be a really good wake up call for a lot of people.
Yeah. It already has for me. I mean, these are humbling times. That's why we titled the episode Humbling Times. So I got a question for you, Jared. How specifically, and you've touched on this for a little bit, but how specifically have these current issues humbled you?
Ah man, huge. My whole life after college, I was in the military and then right to police work. So, I've had secure paychecks and government work. It's where something like this in the past, I never would have thought twice about where my next paycheck's coming. Do I have benefits? Can we afford things? Like you just always had it, and now it's a switch completely to entrepreneurship, and to have the government be able to come in and literally just shut your business down is super humbling. Like not knowing how much you're going to make the next month, not knowing are you going to reopen in a month. Thankfully we're fiscally responsible with our businesses, but at the same point, if they decide no 30 days isn't enough, you need 60 days. I don't know. So it's humbling in many areas where I in the past probably took things for granted
Yeah.
because I've never been here before. I mean, literally, I asked Andrea to take a leap with me, at the end of 2018 because I believed we had greater purpose here and that we could make the money we needed for our life, but also just do something bigger than what I was currently doing. And now all of a sudden, man, we're not even, literally, it was all canceled on us through no fault of our own. So I can't remember a time I've been more humbled than this.
Yeah.
How about you?
Well, in my lifetime, I've never really experienced anything like this where everything's shut down. I think what's really been humbling for me is realizing with my business and my customers, my colony, as I like to call them, is like, wow, like right now I am completely dependent on them because I have thought before too of like, worst case scenario as an entrepreneur, I have a fantastic resume. I can go get a job, go do whatever, but I don't have a plan B now.
Yeah.
Thankfully, right now, we're still allowed to ship products, but I've even seen fulfillment centers getting shut down, shipping of non-essential items for certain companies getting shut down. So for me, it's been very humbling of like, oh my God, like I've never been more grateful for my colony of customers and people supporting my business. So that's been huge. And then also not being able to see people. I'm an extrovert. I
Yeah.
love interacting, hanging out with people, and that's had an effect on my mental health. Yeah, thank God for social media and for Zoom calls. I promise you, this is the only thing that has really kept me sane. If we didn't have this right now, if I wasn't able to see you on the screen and go on social and speak with my friends, I don't think I'd be in very good shape right now. It'd be a lot harder than it is.
Yeah, now imagine that. Like how many people bash social media constantly. And now you realize it actually fulfills an important role in our society.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Especially right now. I mean,
But on the same side, man, don't spend all day on it. Like I see, people like because literally there's nothing you can do. Like some people are at home and they're not reading, they're not learning something, they're not doing things. There's only so many walks they want to go on. Don't just sit there on social media all day just inundating yourself with. For me, the more I pay attention to all the negative news that comes out about this, the more down I get.
right.
When I just check it like twice a day, and in between I fill it with things that I know is making me better, and I'm like, okay, it kind of helps me keep that perspective.
But
But
at the same time, you got things like you just hired David Goggins as your PE coach. You know what I'm
fucking
saying?
awesome.
Like, how
Best
badass is
best
that?
hiring decision I ever made. Didn't
Yeah,
cost me a penny.
yeah, exactly. Like
He's basically volunteering for me.
that's incredible. So it really is. It's all out there. It's really where you want to put your attention. It's just like
And we've
life.
talked about that in other episodes, right? Like, do you consume social media or does it consume you? You like pick and choose where you go. So absolutely, to spend an hour with Goggins, that's a whole lot different than spending an hour with 4 different news sources and 6 political divisions. You know what I mean? Like, you get a different return on your hour that way.
Yeah, fuck that. I mean, I've been a non-watcher of the news for a while now, and I have a lot of people that disagree with me on this, but I know their primary product, their best seller, and that's fear and anxiety, man. That's the number
Fear.
one. That's the number one product that they are selling. And I don't want to buy any of it. I'm not
No.
buying it.
Dude, I gotta go though. I gotta go here, brother. Because we were talking
Uh
about this. The pandemic's the pandemic. Let's deal with it. It's good. We're all gonna come out stronger. Trust me on that. Just follow us. We're going. But Mr. Ali, there's something different about you, my friend. Where is your mustache?
That's right. Is this the first episode I've done mustacheless?
Your mustacheless, yes.
Oh man. Well,
We
yeah.
gotta tell that story, my friend.
Well, I'm glad you bring that up, Jared, because it is right in line with humbling times. It's actually eerily ironic of how this all went down.
Hold on, let me interrupt you real quick.
Go ahead.
I do just want a preference to our audience. I'm not saying his mustache is responsible for this outbreak, but nobody has seen his mustache and coronavirus at the same time. Something to think
Man.
about.
I don't know, man. Maybe the mustache was protecting us.
It was our freaking bubble. It was our protector.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny, man. No, so I had this experience like 3 weeks ago, 2 to 3 weeks ago. And like I admire that you journal every morning and you're a big writer. By the way, quick side note, I need your help on your blog process. I'm trying to get more into the blog, so I'm going to have to pick your brain on that a little bit. But I've never been a very avid writer. I'm definitely more of a speaker and a vocalizer, but I've had journaling on my weekly accountability chart for years. And I journal a couple times a month, but I always kind of want more from it. So recently I've been experimenting with mirror conversations. I believe I got it out of a book called The Way of the Superior Man. And they make a nice little framework for you to talk to yourself in the mirror, because it can be kind of weird and hard for some people to get started with this exercise. But the way that I framework it is I have 2 versions of myself. One is my inner divine God self version, and then my other is my everyday ego self, smaller self version that lives day-to-day life. So I put my higher self up there, and my higher self always asks very open-ended questions like, how are you feeling, or what are you feeling today? How, and for me to just vent. So I'm talking to myself in the mirror, and I was talking about, I feel like I've just been getting humbled a lot. I've been humbled a lot in my recent experience. I had a humble experience in my business. I had a humble experience here. I had a humbling experience at my last jiu-jitsu tournament. I've been training so hard. I was so confident I was going to win the whole thing. And then I get injured in the first minute in the first match, and I'm out for 6 weeks. I've just been getting humbled, and I don't know why. And my higher self says, well, take a moment to think about it. Why do you think you've been getting humbled? And I say, I'm really not sure. But one thing that came to mind is maybe I'm just not humbling myself enough. Humility and being humble is not something that I think about on a consistent basis. And then my higher self says, well, how can you start humbling yourself more? And I look at myself in the mirror, man, and the first thing I was like, oh, I can start by shaving this mustache. So that moment there, I went kind of down this deep rabbit hole asking myself why I had the mustache in the first place. And the original purpose of it as an entrepreneur in a new industry was I want everybody to remember me. I want to stand out. I want people to be like, who's that guy with the mustache? Oh, he's with B nails. I really wanted look at me, which is kind of the opposite of being humble, right? So I really thought about that. And you said this on our last community Zoom call of no emotion is wrong. And I love that you said that. No emotion is wrong. And not that it was wrong, but over the years, I think I've had enough of trying to always be confident, be bold, stand out, be loud, be energetic, and that I truly feel I've gotten to a place to where I feel that I have mastery around these character traits and around confidence. So moving forward, I really want to focus on humility. And it's like the universe is right in line with that. I shaved my mustache and then coronavirus outbreak, baby.
Yeah, I love that story, and man, I respect so greatly your willingness to examine what's your responsibility and why you're feeling certain ways and why things are happening to you instead of just blaming or dismissing like it's the way it is today, because it's not just the way it is today. We do have responsibility to shape things. um yeah, and it's interesting because when you have such a visual perception, right? The mustache is very visible. It immediately has people striking comment. Like everywhere we went, somebody would comment about your mustache. To me, it was almost kind of like a character you had to play in your own
Mm.
head, right? Because like the mustache had its life of its own. And I
Hmm.
think for a lot of our communities, there's aspects of our lives where we still kind of play a role that we've always played there, instead of examining like, does this fulfill me? Am I happy doing this, or am I just doing this because other people expect me, or it's what I've always done, instead of allowing ourselves to grow past it.
Yeah, that's that's some great insight there because I definitely had a lot of those thoughts standing there looking at myself thinking, am I really going to shave this? Like I have
Right.
kind of like, yeah, I'm this character, right? Like I've had this
Yeah.
persona of who I was for over 3 years. I had that thing for just a little over 3 years.
As long as I've known you.
Yeah.
But you also said something, I remember when you came to that keynote speech I did at the MMA awards. And I remember you saying like, man, you speak very humbly, like you're very humble in your speech, and that you were like, that's something I want to work on. And I think, in all honesty, that mustache, because it was very, look at me, I'm different than everybody else. It was just hard for you to do both.
Mhm.
Even though it's an inanimate object, and I know there's probably people out there like, these two are so weird, they've been locked in their houses by themselves too long. But I don't think so. I think we all play roles in life, and sometimes we do a disservice when we don't allow ourselves to outgrow a role. It's kind of like
Mm.
you and I've talked about before. Everything in life has seasons, but so do the roles we play within our lives. And sometimes we got to let go of something to move forward in another place.
Right. And I love the season analogy and also balance and moderation to where I love a quote about humility, and I don't know who said it, but I've seen it thrown around a couple times. Ed Milet actually recently posted it, and it said, "Humility is not thinking less of yourself,
No.
but thinking about yourself less."
Yep.
And I love that because that's the last thing I want to do is put myself down, right? Or think less that less of myself. But being humility is just like it's not all about me. And I think this is
Yeah.
kind of what's going on in the world right now is okay, I feel healthy, I feel great, I can go out there. No, but it's not about me right now. What about our elders or anybody really who can get infected by this? We're doing this for each other. That's the whole point of this quarantine is it's not about you as the individual. It's about your community. It's about everybody else in the world and what can we do to ensure the safety and good livelihood of everybody else. It's a very humbling time for sure.
Yeah, and I think that's huge, and that's a good parallel to what's going on in today's world. Is yeah, a lot of things are selfish based. You know, people, and this causes you to reflect on how much you actually need the clerks at the grocery store and the people that drive the trucks and the stuff, people that we may overlook a lot of times. Actually, you need them in your life.
Hmm. So
You know,
I want to play a little devil's advocate here, Jared. So
yeah,
what about the theory of survival of the fittest, of that? No,
I love it.
forget being humble. We need to be confident, we need to be strong, everyone look out for
Mm,
themselves or no one's going to look out for you.
mm,
Why is humility even important? I mean, there's been there are stories in history where
mm,
humility, being too humble, has resulted in horrible
mm.
effects. What do you think? Why is humility even important for us?
Humility is what connects you to other people, right? Humility is what allows other people to want to follow you into battle, right? They want to follow you in times of uncertainty, in time of uncircumstance, because you're not making all your decisions based on what's best for you. You're making what's best for everybody. And here's the flip thing, man, is if you do things that are good for your community, they will in return be good for you. We have this idea of scarcity, right? It's that whole scarcity mindset that there's not enough, so I have to put you down. I have to talk bad about your business to build mine. And really what this is showing right now is the value of community. You know, like for our gym, I'll just throw this out there. We're closed. We're state mandated closed for at least 30 days. I yesterday just had a message from one of our students. It's like, hey, I pay a year and I always pay a year at a time. So she pays a good chunk of money. And she's like, I would like to pay early this year, even though I'm not due till September, just to help the gym stay afloat to get through.
That's
Right.
awesome.
Now, why is that? It's not because, and I think about she's coming to a mixed martial arts gym where it's easy to be big and bad and tougher than your buddies, but who stands out? It's the humble people, right? The humble warrior that's capable of being physically strong and mentally tough, but also compassionate about, hey, let me look out for the people that maybe aren't there. Um, so I'm all about survival of the fittest, and like I've talked about this too. Like some businesses will not emerge from this; they won't. But I think if we look at their processes may have been doomed, right? They may not have had they hadn't been saving money, right? Because we had a great economy for many years. So it'd be easy to take in your revenue, spend it all, and not have a rainy day fund because we didn't see a rainy day coming. So I'm not saying like humble doesn't mean it's not everybody gets everything and it's all fair. Like there's gonna be some people that win and some people that lose. But humbleness is why people choose to follow you,
Mm.
right? Why people choose to be associated with you. If you look like for me, I'm aware well of my faults. I'm well aware of what I'm not good at, um, and I'm okay sharing that with people because I'm really good at other things. And I think that is what in these times, I mean, that's where people want to be, right? They want to be with leaders that will put them in positions to succeed too, and there's a mutual respect and benefit to what we're doing, which doesn't happen if you're not humble, right? If you're not humble enough to say, hey, Ali, I don't know, dude, you read way more books than I do, teach me something. It doesn't mean I'm less of a person because like I learn from you, you learn from me, we all rise together. And that's to me is why humbleness is so important because it balances out the I'm going to tear you down to make myself look good. No, I want to look good. Like I want to look good in life. I want success. But man, if you have it with me, how much better is that?
Mm. Love it. That
You
was
know, I
good,
mean,
man.
even go back to like generals. Let's talk about like military. Your most beloved generals were generally the most humblest people, right? They put their soldiers first. That's where that saying, you know, leaders eat last comes from. Why? Because your soldiers all eat before you because they're more important than you right now. And doing that doesn't make you weak, doesn't mean you're less of a person. It just means like, no, I understand. If I take care of everybody around me, they'll take care of me. And I think that can be the great lesson coming out of this is who have you been taking care of? And is it coming back? If it's not, then maybe you need to start humbling a little more and giving a little more instead of expecting everything in return.
Mm, I love it. And I think that we will find some of the fittest will have humility and vulnerability as some of their sharpest tools in their toolbox. You know, when we talk about survival of the fittest, I think that humility and vulnerability are definitely tools that you'll see people who do thrive and succeed and survive using a lot.
I think so. I mean, look at the stories people follow aren't usually the person that went undefeated their whole life and never had to overcome adversity, because that's not real. That's not most of us. They want to see the guy that quit his job and took a big risk and then had the government shut down all their businesses, and how do they come back? That's what I want to hear. Right? How does, oh, he shaved his mustache. Like, what comes next? Like, that's the stuff people want to know. Right? It's not and I think for many people, they got led into this false sense of like dominance because everything was so good that I had to be like alpha and I had to, put people down and blast everybody on social media and just not be good to each other, not be good to the earth. And it's kind of like you said, like we're kind of in timeout right now. It's kind of like the earth will set us to our room and like, I want you to think about what you've been doing. And now we're like, boy, I was a bad kid. I was a real bad kid. You know what I mean? And when we come out, you're a little more grateful. Thanks for dinner, mom. Can I put the dishes away, mom? Can I sweep? Right? Like that's kind of what's happening.
Hmm. Thanks, Mother
But
Earth.
dude, I have a funny story on that. So growing up, man, we had a real small house,
Uh huh.
and all three of the kids' bedrooms were like right across the hall from each other. And we would be bad, like really bad. And like, and then my mom would get so mad. She'd be like, "You three go to your rooms." And because we'd been fighting and stuff, we're like so mad at each other. And then as soon as she'd put us in our rooms, we'd go to our room and we literally all open our doors and sit just inside the threshold and talk to each other for like 3 hours. And then she'd be like, "I told you to go to your room." We're like, "We're technically in our room, mom." And then she would go to her room.
That's funny. I mean, yeah, very similar situation, man. Mother Earth saying the same thing to us of, hey, not only with how we are with each other, but how we are with Mother Earth, right? I love
Oh
seeing
man.
the statistics on Italy's canals clearing up and air pollution and all of our pollution going down because we're not polluting on such a high level every single day. So I'm hoping that
Right.
we come back with a little bit more awareness around that too.
Man, I hope it's true. That's the only thing I can say because I know people spin up a lot of bullshit out there. So, I mean, I just hope it's true. I hope the deer in Japan are actually coming back and the dolphins, wherever that was, and the canals in Venice. I mean, I just hope it's all true because here's honestly where I'm at with all this. If this stuff is not legit, if it's not what they told us it was, it's hard to believe somebody a second time.
Yeah, but here's what I say on the other end is even if all of that isn't 100% accurate, what is accurate is for sure we're not polluting as much. There's no way,
I hope so.
businesses are shut down. Like for sure we're not polluting as much, and that is something to think about. If that isn't accurate, we can reach for that, right?
Yeah,
Why
that's
not
true. That's a good goal.
have a goal to have the dolphins come back and the deer hitting the streets and whatever, just more nature. There's so much bullshit and trash that we put out into the world
That's
from
sad.
plastics to styrofoam to we can do a lot better. We really can.
Well, one, I think it's even humble to realize, like, so many people think like, oh, I can just throw this away. It doesn't really much matter, but like, literally, what you do does matter. No matter how small we think we are in the whole scheme of the world, it matters.
It does, man. Courtney's really helped me realize a lot of that where I was like, oh, I've been kind of not doing a very good job. Like so
Really,
much. Yeah, I'm kind of embarrassed to admit, but even little things like she's changed the way that I wash my dishes. You know, because I always, honestly, I used to just have
Just
my
water.
water running the whole time.
Dude, Andrea would freak out on me if I just left the water running.
Dude, well, that's how I used to do it. And Courtney, you know, she didn't freak out on me, but after watching me several times, she's like, "Hey, have you ever tried, you know, just turning off the water, soaping up all the dishes?" And I felt like a fucking child, dude. I was like, "Oh my God, you're so right. Like it makes sense, you know, and
Yeah.
I can do that." But just little things, I think deep down that we all want to be good children to Mother Earth, right? I'm gonna keep writing this analogy that we all want to be good to Mother Earth. Like she is the one who gives us everything,
Everything.
everything that we have in life, and I think that deep down we all want to do better, but sometimes we just don't know how. You know, I guess I wasn't taught. Sorry, Mom, not to put you on in the spotlight, but I guess I wasn't taught to wash the dishes with the water off, you know, and just simple little things that we can share with others to have better practices can go such a long way.
Yeah, and I think that's an interesting, conversation. To how do we respond when we're humbled? Do we get defensive and defiant and push back against, or do we accept the lesson to be learned? Because I think that's truly where we can make change. Because just like your example, if she'd have said, "Hey, have you ever thought about turning off the water?" and you'd have been like, "No, I always do it this way," right? Like even though you know it's not right,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes our pride gets in the way, so we don't learn the lessons when we're humbling,
Oh,
when we're being humbled.
for sure, man. I'll share with you right now. My natural reaction is to get defensive
I
when
think
I get humbled like that.
99% of the world is.
That I have to catch myself in the moment. And I even remember when Courtney was telling me about the dishes thing, I even remember being like in my head, like, shut the fuck up. I know how to wash dishes. Like, you know, just kind of like
Right.
getting defensive. And I had to, before I spoke, had to think about it for a moment and be like, damn, no, you're absolutely right. I can,
Yeah.
this is much better. Thank you for sharing that. But it does, and I think you're right that most of us probably have that defense mechanism kick in immediately, and it takes a little bit of discipline just to be like, wait, hang on, before I react, let me manage this thought right here, this defensive thought, get it out of the
Yeah.
way, and accept this humbling experience. I mean, that's what I'm working on right now, man.
I think, dude, trust me, I have to work on that as well.
It's
Just even
yeah.
the other day at the Airstream, like Andrea clearly laid out, like the trim needs to be like this.
Mm-hmm.
Like couldn't have told me more clear.
Mm-hmm.
And then I start putting and I make a cut where, and she's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, and I wasn't as good as you. I didn't control it. So then I'm like, "What do you mean? What am I doing? I'm cutting it right where it's supposed." She's like, "I literally," then we have this like 10 minutes of silence. I'm like, "Fuck, you did. Like, how did I not remember that?" But I think it's important, right? Because we don't generally do something because we think it's wrong, right? Like if you're washing dishes with the water going, it's not that you're doing it because you're like, F Mother Earth, I want to waste as much water. I don't care that water is a scarce resource. I just want to run it.
Mm-hmm.
It's because it was what you were taught. So you thought you were doing right. And then all of a sudden now Courtney points out to you, like, hey, dude, there's a better way. Or like Andrew, like, hey, run the trim this way. And I cut it. I didn't mean, and that wasn't like I was just being defiant. I just forgot. So I think that's where, as people, when you are humbled, fight that urge to be defensive and be like, okay, man, okay, maybe that's the right way to do something.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because I think that's where a lot of people get stuck and why we don't learn lessons that we should, is we get mad and we push back against the lesson instead of taking it in and seeing if there's some truth to it.
Yeah. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. That's a really good lesson. And also too, in there's also a technique in letting people know that they can be better, that they can improve, right? Knowing that
How
that
you tell people, yeah,
right, and how you tell people, because it's much harder to not be extremely defensive if somebody doesn't tell you in a compassionate, friendly way, right? Of like, dude, what? Like, imagine if Andrea or anyone came up to you and was like, "What the fuck are you doing?"
yeah,
You know,
not gonna
there's
work.
no way you would ever admit that you were wrong, right? You would
Yeah,
fight till the. I think it's Dale Carnegie. There's a principle in How to Win Friends and Influence People of the best way to win an argument is to avoid it, because even if you argue with somebody, if you prove them wrong and you're right, you still lose, because that person, now their ego is hurt, their self-esteem is
Yeah.
hurt, and they resent you for it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. When there's no winners there, you both lost. No, I agree, man. And I think, some of the most humbling times don't require anybody else to tell you anything. It's you being in tune, like, yeah, man, I could have done better at this, or I could have, helped other people more. I could have done things a little differently. And just being honest with yourself, not being so stuck that, like, okay, if I've done it this way, I always have to do it that way. Allowing yourself to grow. I think it's one of the disservices we do to ourselves, especially later in adult life, is we kind of just get stuck in, like, this is the way I've always done it, I'm always going to do this, when the reality is using less water is good for your dishes and they still get just as clean.
Mm-hmm. Love it, man. Great stuff. You ready to get some practice going?
Got some practice? Yeah, throw it out to him, Mr. Ali.
All right, On Purpose community, we have 4 steps for purposeful practice this week. Step number 1 is reflect on how have you been humbled recently. Part 2, reflect on how do you handle humbling moments. We just talked about sometimes a quick defense mechanism and you have to take a moment. So share and reflect on how do you handle these humbling moments. 3, what do you learn from being humbled? And then part 4, email your practice to onpurpose.official@gmail.com.
I love it. That's good. Yeah. And don't forget, like, share, subscribe, give us some reviews. We're on the first page of iTunes now for the On Purpose podcast. If you're searching that, which is nice, that means we're coming after people. And we could use your help with it, man. If you're getting value out of this community and you want a coffee mug, let's let people know about it.
Yeah. Please share it, guys. I want to. We never really mentioned this, but for us, we're 55 episodes in, and we don't draw revenue, we don't draw income from this podcast. We actually pay to keep this going, not only with our efforts, but with money as well, to get our video production, our audio production. So right now, this is an investment for us. We are investing in you guys, in our community. To see it flourish, to see it thrive, because we do expect for it all to come back. So we really appreciate you guys, and what we ask for payment at this time is the like, share, subscribe, especially if it's something to help you. So just wanted to share that little moment of vulnerability of kind of where we're at with the podcast, and that's what we ask of our community.
Well said, Ali. Well said. Very humble. I think no mustache is paying dividends.
Hey, I'm trying out here, man. Doing my best.
And remember, team, life is far too short to live any other way than on purpose. We will see you all again next week.